In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to post your entry page for your players to make their picks, as well as how to download the entries into your pool through the Load Web Picks option. So if you haven't yet, this tutorial assumes that you've already reviewed the previous tutorials on how to set up your pool information, how to configure kind of your FTP manager settings. We've already covered also how you would go about setting up a pre-registration page if you'd like to do that. And so if you have not yet viewed those, you may want to go back now and take a look at those as they kind of build upon each other before we get to this point. So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and show you how to first go ahead and post an entry page to your website. And if you watch the previous tutorials, we're going to go ahead and continue with the sample here where I'm using the mysideline.com website, the internet add-on for my entry pages, but the process will be the same whether you're using that or whether you're using your own website. So if you watch the previous tutorial, I do have one player here who I had pre-register, which is Jim Smith, and we'll show you how you will take advantage of that when we go ahead and create our entry page. So the first thing that we want to do is to make sure we get the pairings downloaded once they come out. And to do that, pretty straightforward, just select the pairings option from the toolbar, or you can select the tournament pairings, and just download the pairings from the web. And we're going to load basically all the pairings information into our pool. And say OK. And so now I've loaded all the pairings information for this year's tournament. In this example, we're looking at last year's pairings, but this process will be the same that you would use for this year. And so now that I have my pairings loaded, I'm just going to go back through the same process that I did when I created my pre-registration page. I'm going to select the remote menu, deploy via web, and I'm going to go through the same process that I did, only this time it's going to create an actual entry page for me instead of a pre-registration page. And so we'll go ahead and we covered all these options before, so if you want to go back and see what these options all mean, go back to the pre-registration tutorial and take a look at that. So we're going to just kind of next through this, and this is all the same as we set before. The one thing now we're going to want to change is now our page title that we used before was pre-register, and now we want to call it Enter Your Picks. And we have another option that we didn't look at last time, which is to use an entry deadline. And you can set this up to use whatever deadline that you'd like. In our case, we're just going to go ahead and set this up for March 16th at 9 o'clock a.m. And this is Eastern Standard Time, so make sure that you take that into account when you set up your page. So now I get my deadline set. I'm going to go ahead and next through here. And this is all the same that I had before when I did my pre-registration. The one thing I'm going to do differently though now is because I have some players who pre-registered, or I had at least one player that pre-registered, I'm going to use a drop-down list for my players so that when Jim comes back to enter his picks, he does not have to enter his information in again. He can just select his name from the list. If it's a new player who did not pre-register, there's an option for them just to go ahead and add themselves to the list and submit their entry. So people don't have to pre-register. If you want to let new people enter, you just have to have this option selected here to allow new players to enter. If you only want to limit it to just people who pre-registered, you can turn that option off. In most cases, you want to use the drop-down list and you want to allow new players to enter. And there's another option then here, whether or not you want to allow your existing players to resubmit their information. So this basically means, do you want to let Jim Smith, resubmit his email address and phone number and all that? And usually you don't really want them to have to go through that hassle because you've already collected that information from them once. So I'd go ahead and maybe just leave that option unchecked. But if you want to let them go ahead and resubmit that information, you have that option. And so we'll select next through here, and we've covered all these settings before. This is new now that we didn't have before on the pre-registration page. You have kind of a choice here of two different styles of entry sheets. One will display the picks in kind of a drop-down fashion where they pick the teams from a drop-down list, and the other is kind of more of a point-and-click option. And there's some advantages and disadvantages that are shown here on the screen. For the most part, the point-and-click is usually the best option to go with. It's a little bit kind of the easiest one and the one that people are probably most familiar with using in terms of how they would use their computer normally. So we're going to go ahead and leave that option as point and click, but you can try both options and see what you like. And so now we're back to our confirm settings, which is again just a summary of what we've selected so far. And the generate components is again the same that we did last time. The only difference is last time it created, if you remember, it created a pre-registration page, and now it's going to actually create a full entry page for us. So we'll select finish, and the page has been created, and we're going to go ahead and upload it to our website, just like we did the pre-registration page. So here's now a look at my entry page that I've just now uploaded. And I'm going to go back now and again make sure that I've got this page integrated in with my website, just like I did before, and rebuild my website. And I'm going to upload it to my site. Okay, and so now I've got my enter your picks link that was before said pre-register. So if I select this option now, I see now I have my drop-down list that I had selected. And so if I'm coming back in here and I'm Jim Smith, I can pick my name from the list, and I can just go ahead and fill out my entries the way that I want. Since I don't have to fill out my information, that's all I have to put in. If though I'm a new person and I've never been and I did not pre-register, I can just select a new button, and I can put in my name and fill out whatever information I need to. And if you remember, the email address was the only one that we said was required. And so now we can go ahead and continue on and make our picks this way. Okay, so now I've gone through and I've filled out my bracket, and I'm going to put in my tiebreaker, and I can just submit my picks. And so just like before, I get the confirmation page. This time it gives me a confirmation of all the picks that I made with that same link back to the pool page. So once I'm done submitting that, I can come back to the pool page. And so then I'm back on the website. So now as the pool administrator, I would do just like I did when I did the pre-registration. Come to the remote menu and load web picks from turbotourney.com and download my entries. And now it's going to tell me that it's going to check those entries against my deadline that I set, which is fine. So it's now looking to see if I have any entries, and I do. I've got one, the one I just submitted, and I can say start import. So, and again, just like last time, it's telling me that it's imported the entries, and do I want to reset my entry file? And I'm going to say yes, because I don't want to get that again next time. I close this, and now I've got Bob Johnson, and here's all his picks that he just made on the website. So I was able to go ahead and download his entry without having to type in anything. So that's just the same process you'd go through as you did as the pre-registration. You'd go through the same process to get your entry page out there. So that covers the tutorial on how to make entries and get your page posted on the internet so that you can download them directly into your pool. Thank you.